To our left, front row.
Coach Fisher, Don Munson with Clemson. It seems like here as of late, Clemson, Florida State has been a September game. Just for pure drama, would you like to see that game move later into the schedule just to kind of help out with the ACC? And then also, can I get your comments on Vic Beasley?
On who?
Vic Beasley.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, the game what it is, I mean, you know, depending on how you never know how the season goes. Maybe, you know, if we come down to, you know, it's us two of the leading candidates for that side, you know, it does make it better and more drama when you push it back. But, you know, it's scheduled when it's scheduled. We can't control that. And, you know, last year we actually, I think we were in, say, September. We were October or September last year. It was right at the end of September, I believe. But we each had 4 or 5 games and we'll go. I think, you know, when you have those years, it does make it dramatic. But, you know, it's scheduled when it's scheduled. You have to deal with it. And play. When you play teams of that caliber early in the season, it does challenge you. Getting ready for camp and all the things you have, especially then we have Oklahoma State also, but they have Georgia, so we're very similar in that regard. Vic Beasley, outstanding player, very athletic, can play the run, can play the pass, very dynamic, a guy that you have to game plan for, can stand up, can move around. You got to know where he's at all times and make sure he's not matched on back, so you have to slide protect to him, but you can't block one-on-one. I mean, one of the outstanding players of our conference and in the country.
Coach to our right, second row.
Coach, coming into this season, you're picked first in the Atlantic, as already been mentioned. Last season, it was a reversal of roles between you guys and Clemson. So that just goes to show how much it doesn't mean. So what is your focus going?
Most times that people pick it wrong. You're right. Y'all pick it wrong. See, we're evaluating y'all too. Evaluate y'all. How many times y'all? If your percentage, hey, if your percentage of getting it right was my percentage of coaching, you wouldn't have a job either. So what now? I'm sorry.
How do you keep your team focused on Oklahoma State?
Well, I think that's very easy because they've been one of the outstanding teams in this country the last 3 or 4 or 5 years. I mean, Mike Gundy and their staff have done a tremendous job. They've been 2 years ago. They were right in the hunt for the national title. I mean, they've had outstanding players and they've done well at all levels of ball as far as going to the pros and everything else, and opening up in Dallas Stadium and you know the excitement and exposure for that game and for our program and for our conference is tremendous, and we carry that as a huge responsibility in which we carry, and we want to play well so we can go out and compete in that game.
To your left this side.
Coach Bob Holliday from Raleigh. There's been an explosion of kick return touchdowns in this league. 6 kickoff touchdowns, 10 punts. You can dominate a game, do the safe thing and punt, and all of a sudden run back, and the game is tied. Does that change your thinking any as what's a safe play? And do you have to talk about being careful of how you
I definitely think you have to constantly scheme because there's more dynamic people playing football now than ever. A bunch of guys are very dynamic with the ball in their hand. But I also think you have to look at the quality of people you're putting on your teams. Sometimes as a special teams guy, you put backup for young freshmen to get them time. Well, to me, you're kicking to the other team's most dynamic player in space, and you don't have your best players running down the field. That doesn't make a lot of sense to me. So we play a lot of starters on all of our special teams, especially our punt cover team, because those things and how to protect and block the punt. So, you know, those things are very important to us. We spend a lot of time on it, but you definitely do have to calculate and know who you're kicking it to and how you're kicking it to and making sure you're covered.
Coach over here this side.
Yes, sir.
Coach, Jim Connors from Time Warner Cable News. This time last year, we were asking you how important it was for you to kick the door down and win it all, and for the conference to do that. And now that both boxes have been checked, how much do you feel still remains to be proved that the ACC is a top-tier football conference and that you're a legit perennial national title contender?
I think you have to prove it every day. When good enough becomes good enough, you have a problem. If you don't ever keep that attitude of domination, that hunger to be great, somebody's going to pass you up. It's too competitive in our business. There's too many good players and too many good coaches out there to not stay on top. And I think that's always your goal. If you don't have that, you should get out of it. And if your goal is not to be that way and put the time and effort and the planning into that, and that's why I work at Florida State, that's why I want to coach at Florida State, and that's our attitude, and it's going to be our attitude as long as I'm there.
Next 3 questions will come from this side.
Hey, Coach, Jeff, WRL in Raleigh. Talked to a couple of your players yesterday. They were excited to have an opportunity possibly to play in a football Final Four. I think across the country there is an excitement. What about as far as a coaching staff to know after you win your national championship game last year, you would have had to play another game to win it? What's your perspective as a coach there?
No, I think it's uncharted territory for everyone. No one knows. I mean, there's no one can give a solid answer because no one's done it. And you can't say I did it. And, you know, I was in 1AA playoffs too, but that's different. It's a 2-game deal, and and the amount of time you have off, I think we're all going to be in uncharted waters, and we have to have a plan if we're fortunate enough to be in that situation. We all plan to be there. Getting that calculation of how hard you work guys into that game, because before it's a one-game deal. Now, then you get to 10 days after, and how you're going to handle travel back and forth and all those logistics, I think it's very critical. But everybody's going to have the same change. Everybody's going to have the same problems and be in uncharted waters themselves. But that's the goal. You want to be a champion, you got to get in it. So I think the excitement will override all those things, and we're looking forward to it too. It'll be very exciting, very challenging.
Still on the end of the road here.
Coach Paul Rogers from Louisville Radio. All of a sudden, we've had 2 straight freshman Heisman Trophy winners, which never happened before. You can speak to Jameis. What are guys just developing quicker? What are some of the attributes of him and for both of them?
Well, I think the game and the way all the 707s out there, all the camps, all the quarterback coaching, I think these kids are getting a greater knowledge of the game of football at a much younger age, and we're also developing better physically. I mean, look at, as I say, kids. We don't allow kids to be kids anymore. You don't get to have that childhood. We're making them grow up so much quicker, and I think that the technology of the computers and the knowledge they can get on there, watching film, watching game film, listening to people talk, I think we're being developed more physically, more mentally, and we're getting better coaching at the lower levels of ball. And I think that's allowing these kids to develop and be ready when they come into these atmospheres and environments. And they're used to going out, like I said before, when you got to a class, you never knew who was in your class till you came on campus. Now, these guys know each other as juniors, and they're recruiting each other because they're at a rivals camp, or Under Armour camp, this camp, that camp, and I think they feel comfortable. They know everybody's abilities, and I think they're all developing in all facets of the game that much quicker.
Coach, right here, front row.
Coach Dan Storr, Broadcast Media. 2 parts. First, with Jameis Winston, the biggest things that you've taken away from him on and off the field so far as a leader, and secondly, going up to Syracuse and playing in the Dome.
I think first of all, Syracuse and the Dome is one of the great places to play in college football. It's one of the unique places. It's extremely loud, extremely vocal, have great tradition. Will be a tremendous challenge for our football team. There's no doubt about that. On Jameis, I think the thing about Jameis that amazes me is his ability to learn. The thing about Jameis that no one knows, and I think you got it yesterday, he's a genuine people person. He enjoys who he is. He loves being in front of people. For 300 people in the line, he'll sign every autograph before he leaves, shake every little kid's hand. He understands that. But his ability to learn, his intelligence level, not just as a football player, but as a person, as a student, all the things, he's a true student athlete. And I think from that standpoint, his ability to learn is why he will always continue to grow and be successful, because he understands mistakes, he's willing to accept them, he learns from them, he moves on, but he won't make those same mistakes twice. And I think his character, down deep, who he truly is remarkable. And the more you're around him, the more you're amazed by him.